With 3 minutes past 8 a.m., we dip into our local and foreign updates here on SMB. Now we start locally with the Uganda Bureau of Statistics latest consumer price index that has indicated that inflation has risen from 2.0% in June to 2.1% as an indication of a slight increase in the price levels paid by households for goods and services during the period under review. Now, Aliziki Lubega, the Director Macroeconomic Statistics at UBOS, attributed the marginal increase in prices to annual food and non-alcoholic beverages inflation, which rose to 0.7% in July 2021 compared to minus 1.6% in June. Now, our senior reporter Petson Mumbere has more of that story.
The headline inflation for Uganda for the 12 months to July 2021 rose by 2.1%, up from 2.0% in June 2021. During the release of the Consumer Price Index, Aliziki Lubega, the Director Macroeconomic Statistics at Uganda Bureau of Statistics, attributed this to the annual food and non-alcoholic beverage inflation that increased to 0.7% in July 2021 from a minus 1.6% recorded in June 2021.
This annual inflation is majorly due to the annual food and non-alcoholic beverages inflation that increased to 0.7% in July 2021, up from minus 1.6% recorded in June 2021.
In addition, annual inflation for restaurants and accommodation services increased to 1.3% in July from 0.2%, and housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels increased to minus 0.9% in July from minus 1.5% in June.
Annual energy, fuel, and utility inflation increased to minus 0.9% in July 2021, up from minus 1.3% recorded earlier in June 2020.
However, the annual headline inflation for transport is recorded at 10.7% for the 12 months to July 2021, down from 15.9% in June 2021. In addition, annual inflation for information and communication decreased to minus 1.4% in July 2021, down from 0.9% in June 2021, as well as alcoholic beverages, tobacco, and narcotic decreased to 1.3% in July, down from 1.6% in June 2021.
Line inflation for transport declined to 10.7% in July 2021, down from 15.9% in June 2021. Inflation, the annual inflation for information and communication decreased to minus 1.4% in July 2021 from 0.9% recorded in June 2021. Alcoholic beverages, tobacco, nicotines, inflation on an annual basis also declined to 1.3% in July 2021 from 1.6% recorded in June.
The core inflation for the 12 months to July 2021 decreased to 2.5%, down from 2.7% in June 2021. This was attributed to annual service inflation that decreased to minus 0.1% in July, down from 1.4% in June 2021. However, other goods inflation for the 12 months to July 2021 decreased to 0.4%, up from minus 0.1% in June 2021. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV. Smart means business.
Thanks, Pedison Mumbere. That's our chief reporter there, giving us more of the details from the UBOS, which means that the core inflation the 12 months to July 2021 decreased to 2.5%, down from 2.7% in June 2021. Now, moving on, where the medical workers have urged the government to consider setting up functional intensive care units in all regional referral hospitals. Now, the Uganda Medical Association leaders said it was high time the government should start allocating funds to boost health facilities, procuring expensive cars for members of parliament every 5 years. Now, they claim that Uganda is the only country where each MP is allocated money for a car nearly worth one ICU bed. Yet its health centers lack enough of the requisite beds. Now, an ICU bed costs about 170 million, but do remember the 200 each car that the MPs were granted costs around 200 million Ugandan shillings. Now, last month the government spent 105.8 billion for the procurement of cars for the MPs at a time of critical need in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, and each of the 529 MPs walking away with 200 million Ugandan shillings. Now we head into the Ministry of Health, as the Ministry of Health and Finance has clashed over 9 billion tax on COVID-19 pickup trucks. Now, officials in the Ministry of Health have clashed with their counterparts in the Finance Ministry after the latter blocked tax exemption on 282 pickup trucks procured using donated funds to boost COVID-19 response. Now, 2 weeks ago, Health Ministry procured 282 double cabin pickups trucks worth 23 billion from the donations and requested for a tax waiver amounting to 9 billion. Now, the ministry urged that the vehicles were procured using donations, and the Finance Ministry, however, insisted that all government procurements are subjected to taxes and that the people who did not plan for the taxes must be held accountable for that. Now, lastly, into our local updates, the long-awaited plan for the rehabilitation of the Masaka-Chotera-Mutukula Road has been deferred as the government awaits funding from the African Development Bank. Now, the rehabilitation project will be funded by an African Development Bank grant under the NEPAD Infrastructure Project Preparation Facility. And now, according to Prime Minister Robin Nabanja, the feasibility study for the road construction and other details of the project were concluded in October 2020, but the work cannot go until the approval of the grant request from the African Development Bank. Now, the 96-kilometer road was built in the 1960s to link and promote trade ties and cooperation between Uganda, Tanzania, and the rest of the East African partners, as Chotera County Member of Parliament John Paul Mpalanyi told URM that the current state of the road is appealing. That brings us to the end of our local updates here on SMB. We cross into our foreign updates. Now we start with 15 soldiers that have been killed and 6 more are missing after a terrorist attack in southwest Niger. The Defense Ministry announced on Sunday. Now, the soldiers were first ambushed and later hit by an improvised explosive device as they tried to evacuate their wounded. They tried to evacuate their wounded. And in Saturday's attack around 11 a.m. and Greenwich Mean Time, as the ministry stated in what they came up with the press release. Now, the toll of the attack in Torodi region is 15 soldiers were killed, with 7 wounded, and at least 6 are missing, as the statement added. We do wish a quick recovery when it comes to that part of Niger, who are actually celebrating independence today as well. Now we head into another story, as the World Health Organization, Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom has said that the pandemic will end when the world chooses to end it. Now, he made the remarks in Geneva about the global COVID-19 outbreak that is now being driven by the Delta variant of the coronavirus, as the World Health Organization goal remains to support every country to vaccinate at least 10% of its population by the end of September. Now, at least 40% by the end of this year and 70% by the middle of next year. Now, the World Organization's chief stated. now lastly, in our foreign updates here on SMB, we head to the northern part of this country, which is our northern neighbor, Sudan. Sudan has welcomed Algerian initiative to hold direct talks on the Nile Dam. Now, Sudan on Saturday welcomed an Algerian initiative calling for holding a direct meeting between leaders of Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia to reach a solution for the differences over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Now, the chairman of Sudanese Sovereign Council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, on Saturday met in Khartoum with the visiting Algerian Foreign Minister Ramten Lamamamra, as she said that the meeting also reviewed the Libyan file and the role of the neighboring countries and their cooperation in ensuring peace, security, and stability in Libya. Now that brings us to the end of our local and foreign updates here on SMB. Now we cross into what is how the forex rates are in town, courtesy of Centenary Bank. Now we start with the US dollar that is buying at 3,455 shillings while selling at 3,586 shillings. Now the Great Britain pound is buying at 4,781 shillings while selling at 4,992 shillings. Back to the euro that is buying at 3,989 shillings while selling at 4,271 shillings. Meanwhile, the Kenyan shilling is buying at 30.08 shillings while selling at 34.32 shillings. The Rwandan franc is buying at 2.37 shillings while selling at 5.15 shillings. And then lastly, the Tanzanian shilling buying at 1.24 shillings while selling at 1.84 shillings. Now that brings us to the end of our local and international updates here on SMB. Good morning.
Smart 24, driving business. Smart 24, driving business.
18 minutes past 8 a.m. here on Smart Men's Business. My name is JORRAM SSONKO. Welcome back from that particular break. And now we're definitely heading into what we have in our mini documentary. What do we have today, Rita?
Very well, we're going to be heading at Philippines or in Filipino and see how forestry is actually faring around there. And just to let you know, the country has actually been very vulnerable to massive flooding linked to deforestation. Now, the coronavirus pandemic also concentrated onto erosion for population that was occupying the world animal habitat. And now, when you look at the glance in Philippines around forestry, you will find out that forest loses or persists in the Philippines are even more with a long ban and protection laws in plan regarding this, because there have been in deforestation for a long time. But forest cover has also remained the same actually since the first Aquino administration that lost in the same parts of the country. And just to let you know around the percentages of the forest cover in Philippines as we head into this particular discovery, you will find out that actually forest is made up of 25.5 million hectares. That is around 92% of the country's total land, and the area from the 16th century. Actually, this is not a very good thing, but however, Philippines is reaping greatly in forestry. Let's head into that particular documentary. We do return.
Forests are an essential resource for water, clean air, and food. Plus, they help to fight climate change. When they are destroyed, entire ecosystems can go into shock. Patrick Dugan has been working in Asia for 30 years, helping forests to regenerate.
What you see here is what's left of what was once a beautiful forest after decades and decades of slash and burn, abuse, overpasturing, bad forest, bad land management. Look, hardly anything left. No tree seedlings, hardly even any weed seedlings, just this tenacious grass here, about the last thing that would grow. It's almost down to the final stage of degradation, bedrock.
Even degradation this bad can be reversed, but it takes time. One example of how local people can make a difference is here on Bohol Island in the Philippines through a program called Assisted Natural Regeneration, or ANR. ANR is an ingeniously simple, low-cost process that allows small native trees to grow by eliminating competition from undesirable species.
All these little fellows that are trying to grow get a chance to grow, and you can see the result. This is only 2 years old. And how many species have you got here? All native species. Things that just grow naturally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See the different leaf shapes? You can tell they're different species. And here are little babies trying to emerge. And this is what this natural regeneration is all about. These things happen. You just help Mother Nature and they happen.
When a forest is destroyed, the environment suffers, jobs are lost, and farmers are left with degraded soil. Everybody loses. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization partnered with the Philippines government to promote ANR as a way of regenerating the forests. For Alberto Padilla, it means work and a way to make the forests more sustainable.
Una ang nakuha ng kaayuhan, magkatag og pangwartahan sa katawhan o makapabalik og kadaghan sa among kakahuyan mo dakwang kalusangan ako.
Hundreds of locally employed people here work to protect and regenerate the forests. The ANR technique is simple. When a small tree is located, a ring is weeded around it, and the surrounding grass is pressed down. Pressing the grass prevents it from taking the water and nutrients trees need to grow. Finally, nearby grass is cut away, so sunlight can penetrate the area and trees can grow quickly.
Dugang yung makahatag og kaayuhan sa among mga mag-uuma kani yung panahon nga may balik na ang saktong kinayahan kabugnaw unya antod nga makapananom yung sakto sa maong mga mag-uuma sa among dapit.
The program works because local people act as its key players. Eliseo Chavez and his family have always lived in this forest.
Sa una sawa pa moabot ang project sa INR magsigig kasunog ang kamutanan nya karon diyan ay project sa INR na protektahan na sa mga tao din apel po sa kabenepisyo na katrabaho.
Eliseo gets a steady income from this project by patrolling the forest, a key part of the ANR program. Teams patrol daily looking for illegal harvesting, grazing or fires, which can devastate and wipe out an entire forest. Fire lines are created to prevent flames from jumping between forest areas. The community aspect of this program means local people take pride in caring for their own forests.
Akong nakita ug unsa dagko importante ang lasang angay protektaran natong tanan ug ako kung naan sa kagalingon anya karon og umaabot pa nga henerasyon sa kabatanon.
But forests, one of the planet's most important resources, are still under pressure worldwide. They make up a third of the planet's land mass and provide over 1.5 billion people with a livelihood. Many forests are not being used to their full potential. If restored and managed properly, they could support even more people. Worldwide, 850 million hectares, an area the size of Brazil, lie spoiled and degraded. And every year, a further 13 million hectares of forest are lost. Forest ecosystems are highly adaptive, and with the right help, this huge part of our planet can regrow. In fact, through natural regrowth, together with forest regeneration and replantation projects, 8 million hectares of forest grow back each year, and the rate of destruction is finally slowing.
We have reports that for the first time, the rate of deforestation is decreasing in many countries around the world. And this is a result of the concerted efforts at local and international levels. We're seeing this happening in Asia in particular as a result of increased resources being given to forest rehabilitation and forest restoration.
A booming world population means an increased need for food, so the forest's role in protecting watersheds, preventing erosion, and providing a foothold for biodiversity is more important than ever. Manila, a city of over 11 million people with a sizable carbon footprint. The congestion here contributes to the buildup of greenhouse gases. The government realized it was time to reverse the trend and help mitigate climate change by supporting forest regeneration.
We appreciate that. For example, a big city like Makati in the Philippines, which is a carbon emitter, and a resort in an island of Bohol, which is a protected area, becomes a carbon sink.
Forests support a growing population, and community-based programs need to aid efforts to regrow them. And when the forest does start to bounce back, new sources of income come with it. The tropical pandanus plant is used as food and to make dozens of household products. These women are able to grow the plant and make baskets for sale throughout the Philippines. It's an industry directly tied to the success of the surrounding forests. The return of lush forests means the Philippine island of Bohol is now ideally placed to exploit the ecotourism boom. As people begin to understand the fragility of our natural systems, they are flocking to see forests, which in turn brings income into the community. Recognizing this, the city of Danao is ploughing back a portion of ecotourism fees into forest rehabilitation, including ANR.
We came up with an ecotourism before it became too late, before we lost all our forests. So we wanted our people to know that, progress does not have to entail destruction of our forest. So we wanted them to realize also that they can benefit from what we have.
2011 has been declared by the United Nations to be the International Year of Forests. This will give further impetus to an increasing awareness that is already showing positive results. It's an occasion to celebrate the role of forests, but at the same time reminds us that more needs to be done.
What you see behind me is what the natural forest really looks like. There are big trees that are from the original forest. There are smaller ones from the regenerated forest. Ages ranging from 80 or 90 years old for the big ones to maybe 20, 30, 40 years old for the little ones. This is what can happen here. It can happen all over Bohol. It can happen all over the Philippines. It can happen all over the world.
Forest regeneration in the Philippines, and what lessons are you picking out there when it comes to making sure we do safeguard our environment with the ongoing deforestation? You could see how Philippines was actually damaged totally when it comes to the conservation of the environment, but then they came back with the regeneration of their forests by making sure they carry on with the reforestation to make sure that at least they do plant different trees to safeguard their environment as well, in terms of conserving forestry as well. Now, that brings us to the end of our mini documentary, but after the break, we're heading into a break, but after that, we return with the fintech management. We return with an expert interview and analysis on fintech management. Do not go away. This is SMB. Good morning.
Smart 24, driving business.